A good devach. Let me tell you a maisa. So, everyone's heard of the Badichever. So it was a maisa that a yid once came to the Badichever in a panic. And so the Badichever brings him in. He says, well, what's wrong? He says, I have a wife and family, Baruch Hashem, was healthy. And for a living, I rent a bar, like a hotel from the Paretz, and I pay him the rent, and obviously, make the profit, and that's the deal. So the Badichever says, what's the issue? He says, the issue is I haven't been paying rent for a long time, and the Paretz has gotten angrier and angrier, and he's giving me an ultimatum. He said, if by Wednesday, whatever it is, you don't pay up the money, then I'm taking you and your children, you're all going to prison, you're never going to see the light of day again. So Rebbe, I need aids, I need something, I need help. So first the Rebbe is sitting back at the Badichever, he's like, so why haven't you been paying rent? Why haven't you been paying rent? So he says, I'll tell you, I can't afford it. So it's like, but you're making money from the kretschmer, you're making money from the inn, so why are you not paying rent? He says, I'll tell you why, because my chayvus, I can't pay the rent. What are your chayvus? He says, well, I have the usual chayvus of raising from a Jewish family, but also I noticed in my town there's no yeshiva and no one was stepping up, so I decided I'm gonna, I'll pay for a malamed to come to teach the kids, Torah. And then I noticed that there was barely a minyan, so I decided, I'm going to hire someone to come b'kvias to be number 10 for the minyan. And Badichever is listening to this. He's like, okay, it's fair. And then he says, then I realize, listen, we don't even have a good mikveh in the town, and people have to travel to a neighboring shtetl to go to the mikveh, and during the winter it's hard and so on. So I'll pay for a mikveh. So with all those chayvus, all those things that I've taken upon myself, I pasha can't pay the rent. Badichever leans back and he's like, you know what? You're making a good point. These are chayvus that the Jewish community has, and like no one's doing it but you. It's not a good point. So let me try to see what I can do. So Badichever gets up and he goes to this back office, and in like 10 seconds later, not even 5 seconds later, he comes out with a sealed envelope and he says, "Here, take this letter to the Paretz, and Bez Hashem, everything will be taken care of." So everyone knows that Badichever was very quick. His rizas, he was mamish. He didn't pace. He ran, But even for the Badichever to go into his office in 5 seconds to get a letter, write a whole letter, to seal it in an envelope, even for the Badichever, that's impossible. So the Yid takes it, but like, what could be in this letter already? First of all, how could you write a letter so quickly? What could the Badichever possibly say in this letter that's going to convince the Paretz to let go of my debt? Like, that's what the Tzaddik says. So fine. So he's traveling, but he's getting more curious. What could it possibly say over here? And he's thinking to himself, like, and if it says the wrong thing, then the Badichever is, I'm the one that's going to suffer the wrath. So this curiosity and this fear, until eventually it gets the better of him, and he opens the envelope, and what does he see? It's a blank piece of paper. He's like, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? I'm going to get even more trouble. But the Badichever said I should do it, and he's mechazing himself to believe in the tzaddik, and fine. So he goes to the Paretz's house, knocks on the door, his hand is trembling, It's not just him, it's his whole family's lives. And the Paretz opens the door. What do you want over here? It's Wednesday morning. It's time to pay your debt. So he's like, I have this note from the Rav of Badichever, and he said I should present it to you. He's like, what are you wasting my time with rabbis' notes? Give it to me. So he takes it, and he opens it up, and he takes out the paper, and the Paretz's face turns white. And he begins to shake, and he has to sit down to gather himself. And after a minute or two, the Paretz stands up. He says, okay, you know what, Yankel? The debt is cleared. I'm not going to collect the money, but just going forward, make sure to pay on time. Going forward. Mamish. the yoke that's no off his shoulders, mamish. It's not Olam Haba. So he goes back to Badichever to say thank you to the Rabbi. So he goes to Badichever, and the Badichever, without him saying anything, the Badichever said, if you didn't open the envelope, he would have given you the inn for free. He would have just given it to you as a gift. No, because you opened it, at least he absolved the debts. But going forward, make sure you pay on time. That's what the Badichever said. No, nice like that. Tzadikim, they're different wavelength. And we have to just believe in them. We kash ourselves to them by saying a ma'aseh from Badichever. We should be zeicha to evoke his merit and his chus on behalf of all of Klal Yisrael. She's to only see Yeshuas and the Chamas and good things for ourselves, for our families, for all of Klal Yisrael. Be as called Tzedek. Amen.